Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Voice of Apple Valley podcast. I'm your host, Steve Famiano. Great to be with you today. Thanks for joining us. We're going to have a absolute awesome discussion today, and we're going to dive right in here. And we're going to talk everything Apple Valley, of course, as we always do here on the Voice of Apple Valley. But we're going to expand outside of town limits, and we're going to talk about some of the HD city issues that we have across the high desert. And more specifically, we're going to do some comparisons here between Apple Valley and the city of Barstow. And one of the things I want to do is talk about some of the issues that each of the cities have. See what issues are similar, things that are not similar, talk about budgeting for the cities, different things like that. And I have a great guest today to help us have this discussion. It's brand new Barstow City Council member John Tex Williams. And I'm going to bring John on right now. We're just going to get into this discussion because I can't wait to have this discussion. John, how you doing today?
Man, great. I love your show, man, and what you're doing for the public and getting the information out is important.
No, I appreciate that. And full disclosure, Tex and I want to call you Tex. I know it's so hard for me to call you council member, but I know
it's hard for me to do. It's hard for me as well.
Tex and I go way, way back with our youth football days when I was running the Apple Valley Rattlers. And Tex, of course, has been an icon in Barstow youth football with the Barstow Aztecs. So Tex and I have known each other for a long time. We actually created the actual conference that's here in the high desert for a lot of youth football teams. So for me, it's Coach Tex, it's youth football Tex, but now we have this new Tex, and it's Barstow City Council member Tex. And you know what, Tex, what I want to get into first, because it's a very unique story on how you became a Barstow City Council member. So
yes,
explain to us how you went from youth football Tex to council member Tex in Barstow.
Well, as we've been talking about all the problems in the high desert, everything else, I started going to council meetings in 2020. And I was asked to go to one, and I got hooked. I'm telling you, I got absolutely hooked. If you're, for your listeners, I'm telling you, go to your local meetings, school board meetings, everything else. You're going to get hooked. You're gonna hear things, and things are going to shock you. So I started asking a lot of questions. Started getting, some answers, and then it went silent. It's like you can't get nothing out of it, and so. They pissed me off, and I said, "Hey, you know what? I think I'm going to run." The one council person that was in that seat, I was very unhappy with. So I really wanted to run to debate her, and she ended up not running. And next thing I know, I found myself in a complete mess and won. And but I tell you, serving your community like you're doing now. Actually is what we need in society. It's very important that we educate those around the high desert, our own cities, and around the surrounding areas.
But don't you think it's important too now that what you're doing? So you went from just the guy in Barstow, and like you said, you got pissed off one day, basically at your city, and then you got involved, and next thing you know, here you are sitting on the city council. So there's got to be some importance to that too.
Well, I got to be honest with you. I don't know how much you can, and we're going to get into more details. I don't know how much you can fix. I don't care if you're inside or outside. I'm going to tell you, I was more powerful outside than I was inside. If I'd have known what I've known now, don't know if I would have taken this on, because I can't be as truthful and honest like I want to be, because they have this thing called, closed session or what they do as a Brown Act. And it's almost like you can't talk to your fellow council members. So you're kind of on your own. You're kind of like fighting this thing by yourself. The state laws, the federal laws, they kind of hurt you. And I didn't realize that. I could do more damage on the outside than I could do in the inside. But at least I can help guide and get the information I want and need in order to make good decisions.
So for those who are not in Barstow, I know you've posted your videos all over social media across the high desert, but a lot of the Barstow people know how you got started in this, and some of those who are watching us now or listening to us might not know. So one of the things you started doing was you were going around Barstow and you were filming some of the infrastructure problems and different things like that. You're still doing it, and I'm actually going
Right.
to play a video. I'm going to play a video for you here. This one is actually, I think in the video you say you are an actual council member now, but I want to play this for you, and then we're going to expand on what you've done with these videos. Let me play this
Sure.
for you.
Well, everybody said, oh, when he gets elected, he's not going to keep doing these things and videotaping and going out. Well, yes, I am. I told you, even if I won city council, I was going to continue to do the things I do. So here we go. Another sidewalk on Main Street, and we got a problem. This thing is lifted up. It's over here by the car wash and over here by Jenny's, right across from Denny's Cafe. It's a problem, guys. This infrastructure in our city we got a lot of issues. How we solve them is going to be the question. How we go after these things and make sure we're maintaining them. We don't have enough staff. The city's already approved that to us, that they don't have enough staff. Look, I got a tire here hanging. This is what people see. Yes, I know it's a weekend. I understand all that. There's nobody out here. I get it. But the problem is, this is all around our city. Look at our curves. Hey, when's the city going to start painting these curves? You know, just painting these things red and bright, it makes our city look better. When you got something here that hasn't been touched in years, because either they don't want to do it, or the city says, hey, I don't have enough money, or they just don't have enough people.
So let me ask you, Tex, was your biggest concern the infrastructure in Barstow? And that video alone, I was looking at the curb that you were talking about, and I'm thinking, why is it the city can't just paint does it cost that much to paint a curb? Like, how is that not painted?
No, I believe that what happened is the city, in my opinion, all cities do this. So when we start talking about these issues, I want your listeners to understand this is in your city as well. This is not something new. So painting the curbs red, they haven't been painted in, I would say, 4 years, maybe longer. The paint's flaked off everything. After that video, every freaking curb in the city of Barstow started getting painted. The sidewalks started getting. I think we fixed almost 17 sidewalks. So the infrastructure is supposed to be on a schedule. There's a system that they have that tells them when and how and what they got to do to keep these things going. But they get overwhelmed. They're understaffed. They're trying to save money. And what happens is they just start neglecting the stuff. And that's just purely what it is, neglect. So you can take an example like every city has this problem here. In order for them, the budgets increase. They come back and ask for a balanced budget. That's not a good thing. So what this council members need to do and the city staff need to do is give a budget back to the council saying, here's your budget. And let's say it's $10 million, but you only have $5 million of money you can spend. So that means $5 million of cuts have to come out of that. When you ask for a balanced budget, you never get that. You just go, oh, we balanced the budget. You see the federal government, oh, we balanced the budget. But what is the cost of balancing that budget? And that reflects your citizens, the residents, and even the folks out in the county. They use their facilities inside the city. So when you ask for a balanced budget, it's not good. What they need to do is ask for the complete budget, let departments ask for everything they want, and then you can go back to the people and say, hey, we only got 5 million. This is what we got to cut. And what happens is everyone's educated now. But balancing the budget is really hiding the problems. And every city does it.
Yeah. And look, here in Apple Valley, they haven't had a balanced budget, or they've been in a budget deficit here for over 10 years in Apple Valley. I don't know about Barstow.
Yeah, but what the city of Apple Valley will tell you is that they're going into this year as a balanced budget. So they're balancing it. What they're not telling you is and you're absolutely right, they've been at a deficit for 10, maybe 10 years longer, but they're not telling the citizens that by saying they balanced the budget for 2025, they're hiding all of the real issues that is causing the problems inside that community, like your roads not being maintained, all those issues, your parks not being maintained. That's a cost of a balanced budget.
So as far as Barstow goes, and you doing all these videos and bringing attention to these things, and ultimately, I think these videos helped you get elected to city council somehow. I mean, because
Yeah, it did. But just to get on the videos, it was a total accident. It wasn't something that was meant to be. It wasn't something I planned to do. It wasn't said, oh, woke up one morning and go, you know what, I'm gonna kill the city on social media. It actually happened as an accident. There were some shoes hanging in the tree, and I looked up and saw these shoes in there. I talked to a real good friend of mine, Leonard Williams, and I said, hey, let's do a video. And he's like, no, I'm not gonna do that. So I went and did the video, and it just caught fire. And then you start seeing everything. Like, I think you said it yourself, right? You said when you're driving in Napa Valley now, what do you look at when you're driving?
Oh, I look at everything, and
But,
honestly,
but
your
you said the
videos,
roads.
yeah, the
You
roads,
said,
like,
yeah.
y-
So
but your
you watch.
videos made me think that through. I started seeing you do these videos, and I was like, wow, how is he finding all of these things? And I'm like, well, you know what, he's finding them because they're there in front of his face.
In front of your face, in front of everybody's face. So if you're driving around town and you see these things, we ignore. We're so used to having cracked up, busted up roads, potholes. We just we just get used to it. Well, once you start looking at it, and you go, why? Then all hell breaks loose. And I can tell you, I'll give you an example. Virginia Way in Barstow, they can't fix it. You can't patch it anymore. You can't do anything. It has to be a complete tear out. It's $1 million. They don't have it. They don't have it. The reason they don't have it is because funding is going all over the place. But the realistic part of this is our First Street Bridge that we built, that new bridge that everybody loves so much. Uh, the city had to put up $4 to $4.5 million, and guess what? It came out of your streets. So for 4 years, they had no major construction, and until I started doing the videos, they really weren't out there patching it like they were supposed to be, causing more of an issue. Now that neglect has cost us $1 million in road repair that we could have taken care of 10 years ago and not be in this predicament.
Well, one thing I've noticed about Barstow, and I've been paying closer attention and kind of watching your guys' city council meetings online and watching some of the interaction going on there. Comparing that to Apple Valley, I'm going to give Barstow some kudos because I got to say the city council in Barstow is they get into it. You guys actually ask questions.
Yeah.
There's a lot of involvement from the public, which I thought was interesting compared to Apple Valley. There is very minimal political engagement going on here from the public of Apple Valley compared to what I see in Barstow. And I was very impressed that you guys were asking questions of the city manager and some other of the staff members and actually talking about things about the city that need to be resolved. I mean, we don't really get that here in Apple Valley a lot. I mean, our town council meetings sometimes are just like a little get together of friends. It seems like to me, there's no real discussion.
Well, I'll tell you why. And this is part of the problems on the council people that are sitting in those seats. They're too complacent. They're too happy, and they don't fear nothing. So what they do is they already know these answers, but they don't have to bring it out to the public. What I'm doing now is I know the answers, and I sit in the meetings and I know what the issues are. And we have a great staff, management staff, and so they know that it is my goal. We work for the people. Every council person, representative that works for the government works for the people. It is our responsibility to give them 100% of everything that we know and what's going on. For example, if your employees, I know you're a business guy, your employees come and do things, they need to go to you and update you on what is happening inside your company. Well, that's what we got to do to the public. We got to update them what's going on inside their company because the citizens own the city, their money, their police, their fire, their government. And then once we start realizing that, that's how you start making change. You don't change it by sitting back and being quiet. So they're too complacent. And if those folks in Apple Valley get mad and the council people get mad, they can call me up. They know my number.
No, it's okay. It's an honest discussion. It's true. I think there is complacency on our end here in Apple Valley. I think there's complacency with the town council, and I think there's complacency among the public too. And we can get into that. But you started to get into something that I wanted to talk about with you, and I'm going to play another video for you right now, and then I'm going to get your thoughts on this because what you said in this video, I mean, it hit me pretty hard, and I thought, man, this was one of the most clearest explanations to what government is that I've ever heard anybody say. So let's watch this.
This is why you got to speak up. This is why you have to get involved. If you don't get involved and you don't speak your mind, then you got a problem. And that is an issue. And we were with a group of people last night, some business owners, talking to them about their problems, what is happening in their businesses and how they're losing money and everything else. It was a very good conversation. The mayor was kind enough to come with me, and we really were shocked to hear what we heard and stunned. And we're gonna address that the best we can. But I just want you to know, we the politicians work for you. We don't work for ourselves. We work for you. We answer to you and not to ourselves. It's a hard thing to do, is to figure out when you're in a position of government or power, that's just what your responsibilities are. And that responsibility is to make sure you are represented, you are taken care of. That's it. That's the bottom line. The sooner you realize you're in charge, the better everything will be. We work for you. That's the fact. And that's the first thing that I did when I ran, is make sure you guys understand that, is that this is the people's government. It's your money. It's your police. It's your fire. It's your money. Your tax dollars pays for everything. Pays for salaries and everybody else. So we all work for you, no matter what the hell we say or do. That's the bottom line.
That was pretty straightforward, Tex.
Yeah. But it's you got to want to do the right thing. You got to want to address the people. But I'm on the other side. I still consider myself on the other side, even though I'm sitting as a council person. I tell them all the time in the council meeting, hey, I'm still one of you. I haven't became that politician yet. I'm still running around in my thrashed up shirts and shorts like I always do. I got to dress up for the council meetings, but I'm still that same person. What they didn't count on, what the city didn't count on, and what the residents didn't count on, is that I would continue this videoing and going after the infrastructure of our city. But I could not stop. They want me to stop. Everybody would say, hey, right now, if I say, oh, I need this building painted and it's a city building, they'd be out there painting it. It's different when you're.
All right, I think Tex, we lost Tex on video there. Let me try and get him back up. All right, we got Councilmember John Tex Williams back on with us. I guess that internet service in Barstow not doing too good nowadays, is it?
Nah, it's probably the city shutting me down, trying to keep me calm. Pull the plug on us.
That's it's technical stuff happens, man. It's like it is what it is. So we're going to pick up our conversation here on the Voice of Apple Valley, talking about Apple Valley and the city of Barstow. And actually now, Tex, we can kind of restart this conversation. Let me ask you this. What do you see now that you're in as a city council member? And you probably saw this before you became a council member, but relating to Apple Valley and Barstow and maybe some of the other high desert cities, what are like three of the top things that these cities have in common as far as issues, infrastructure, budget, whatever it is? What do you see?
Well, I'll go back to tax revenue. It gets to a point where you got continued growth going on in the cities. I think Apple Valley is a perfect example of this. They grew like crazy. Now they're sustaining, but they keep hiring more managers and staff, and all of that catches up to you over a time. So they project that, the government always projecting that they're going to make money every year because the new population, everything else comes in, and it doesn't happen. I think that's the biggest problem. They're not prepared for any issues. Like with us at home, we got to manage our checkbook, right? We got to be careful what we spend, except for you. But the rest of us have to make sure that we have to make sure that, we got to save our money. And if you don't save your money and do the right things, then what happens is when those bad things happen, the revenue is not where it used to be. So I tell everybody this. Imagine every city has this problem. Imagine you on making salary in 2012, but you're in 2024 trying to manage a city. And that's what's happened. The revenue is just not coming in like it's supposed to be. And, cost has gone up, equipment's gone up, staff hours are gone. Everything's gone up except for income coming in. I think that's your major problem with all these cities. LA, I don't care how big, Department of Defense, the federal government, they all have that problem. They're overexpending what they're bringing in.
Well, and that brings me to something that's very similar between Barstow and Apple Valley. So a few years ago, you guys passed Measure Q.
Right.
Explain to those of us here in Apple Valley who just approved Measure P what Measure Q, that additional funds, is supposed to do for the city of Barstow.
Well, first of all, we go back to the people of Apple Valley and the people of Barstow. Thank you, because you're saving your city. You just don't know it. They won't tell you how much in trouble they are and how bad off they really are. So for you guys to vote yes, thank you for saving your city. You don't realize how much you're doing. Now, we got to make sure the city does the right thing with Measure P and Measure Q and all these other measures that's going across there. Because if we don't, it's not good. I'll give you an example. Measure Q has saved our city, but now we're going right back into a money issue problem. We're spending too much, and you're still not getting the infrastructure things that are supposed to be being done. And the reason why is because, again, we're hiring, a city manager. You can take the top 5 employees in the city of Barstow, and it's almost $1 million. Think about it. So you can imagine what Apple Valley's doing. It's just crazy. But the city will tell you we got to bring in good people at the highest pay so we can make a big difference. Well, sometimes I might take the chance in bringing someone in's new and giving them a shot and see if we can figure it out. So each city's got a pay scale, and all these cities stay within that pay scale. But can you afford it? I don't think they can, but they're doing it anyways. So Measure P's general fund, you got to be very careful. You got to really stay on top of your Measure P and Measure Q's. We did a Measure Q special meeting. I'll give the cities huge credit. I asked to be on the agenda, and they did it. We learned so much out of it. But you got to make the politicians beat them up on any measures that you pass, that the residents pass to save our city. It's, again, your city, your money, your government. You got to be financially conservative and making sure that they're doing the right thing with your money. Because if you don't, they won't. And that's a fact.
Well, one of the things with these measures, and I know Barstow has done this and Apple Valley is going to do this, they put these citizen oversight committees together to oversee these funds, basically.
Right.
I went back and I was looking at, I think this might have been your special meeting you guys had in the city of Barstow. And I got a clip from there explaining this citizen oversight committee. And this was a pretty interesting dialogue. I'm going to play this video for you and then we'll expand on it after.
Measure itself, what was the promise to the citizens regarding the duties of the committee?
That the committee would meet annually to review and publicly report on the expenditure of revenues generated by the Measure Q tax.
Report on. So it's basically an oversight committee, correct? So
Right.
when I hear you answer the question, sign off on expenditures, that's an action item. They would not have the power to sign off on expenditures. Is that correct?
They don't have the power to override the council. It's just review and report.
Correct. The duty is to report to the public that yes, the city, yes, the council is spending your money as promised in the Measure Q measure, or no, the city is not spending them. Is that correct?
Yes, but either way, it still comes to council. If the Measure Q committee said that an expenditure was inconsistent with the purpose of the measure, the expenditure still happens. It's up to
Okay,
council.
so again, I asked for clarification. What would the Measure Q committee sign off on?
They produce their report. They sign off on their report. So it's
Okay,
not
but a question was asked about signing off on expenditures by Councilmember Williams, and you said yes monthly or yes. They would not sign off on expenditures. I just want to make that clear. Is that correct? They would report to the public.
they make a report, so they would sign off on their report, but they don't have the power to approve. Only the council can approve.
So that was an interesting exchange in explaining what a citizen oversight committee is. So
Right.
you asked a question about what was it you were specifically
Okay,
asking?
Let's go over the committee. Let's just see how honest the city of Barstow is and how honest the Apple Valley will be. So they got a committee, everyone applied for it, and then the council people pick who they want and their districts to put them on the committee. So I asked the questions. I want them to meet monthly from now on because the expenditures happen monthly, but every quarter they have a meeting. So I'm saying if the residents, if the city is spending Measure Q money every month, why don't we have someone checking to make sure we're doing the right thing with that money? They didn't like it. But what pissed me off more than anything else, and what you're not hearing out of this thing, is they only met one time in the last year on Measure Q. The rules state they only meet one time. So long as they meet that requirement, they really don't care what you think. And so I want to give this committee more teeth. I want to give them more of a voice. Well, no one wants to do that. And our mayor is a great guy, but you can see that one simple question turned into a 3-minute discussion, which I don't still think anybody understands what the hell we were talking about in there. That should alarm you. That right there, seeing that episode between the mayor and the city attorney should concern you as a resident, knowing that that's happening.
Well,
You got to have a committee that is strength. When they say sign off, there's a documentation that they sign off of. I always ask the question, what if they don't sign it? What if they say we don't like what's happening? What happens then? Who is responsible then? No one will ever ask the question. They won't talk about, is those expenditures investigated, or are they tracked, or they go into an audit? Nothing. They won't say nothing because everyone has ever signed it. So I am going to put together some of the nastiest people that you have ever seen to answer questions and go after these things to make sure we get the answers. We need people to tear government apart in order to make sure we're doing the right thing. And I hope Measure P you do.
I don't disagree with you about tearing government apart. We're joined by new Barstow City Council member John Tex Williams on the Voice of Apple Valley, and I'm going to expand on this oversight committee. And I'm not trying to dismiss, and I think we're saying the same thing here. I'm not trying to dismiss these oversight committees, but reading the oversight committee responsibility here in Apple Valley, it's probably the same as in Barstow, basically. And I think your city attorney, that was the city attorney in that video answering the questions. That was your city attorney.
Yeah.
Okay. I think he said it there towards the end. Basically, the oversight committee can say whatever they want to the council, but it's up to the council ultimately to spend the money however they see fit. So what's the point? What's the point of an oversight committee then?
Well, I would say your oversight committee, when I used to be on the Measure Q commissioner, so I was there until they got tired of me. Another reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'd have some very tough questions, and I would ask questions on Measure Q officers, Measure Q firefighters versus general fund officers. So Apple Valley, you better be careful because your current officers right now that are on staff that are general funded should not be under Measure P. So if you're taking Measure P money and funding general fund officers, you're wrong. That's my opinion. The city doesn't see it that way. They'll budget it out the gas that way on the vehicles, but they don't want to see it my way when I bring this up, and they always get mad at me. So if you get a Measure P officer, then everything that comes out of his salary, his whatever he's given, his benefits, the police vehicle, all that's Measure P. So all that goes into that one officer. But you don't take Measure P money and get your general fund officers that you're already paying for. But what Apple Valley will do is they will start eliminating. You'll see that they'll only hire Measure P officers, and they will never hire again a general measure officer. And what that does is general funds start to grow. Your Measure P is being expended out, and then what you have is a sooner or later that Measure P will not have enough money in there to do what they need to do because they're saving the general fund.
Well, and that's
so
exactly, Tex, and that's part of the problem, I think, with not just Apple Valley or Barstow, any government that does these measures for that. So you're getting this additional, whatever it is, $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10 million, whatever the total figure winds up being. So you're getting this money from that measure, but that measure is ultimately general fund money. Right. So you're really, you don't have a separate bank account for Measure P or Measure Q. It goes right into the general fund. So it becomes this accounting mess too of, well, how do you distinguish what is Measure P, Q, general fund? How do you do that?
Well, it's funny. I think that Measure P will have the same problem we got here in Barstow is they'll take a percentage of the city manager's salary and say, well, now that's measure P because he's spending or she's spending 15% of their time on measure P. They'll take your assistant city manager and say, well, you're 5% or you're 10%. And what happens is the percentages. What I want to see done, and what the city won't do right now, is have a time charge code that says measure Q only. And every time that you use that, every time you go onto that thing, log that time down. But they're not doing that. What they're doing is percentages. Let me give you an example. You have multiple contracts all over the place, and your business is doing good. You and your wife are doing a great job of doing what you guys do. Do you charge by area, by codes for those customers? Because you don't just say, oh, it's a percentage I'm over here and a percentage I'm over here. You got actual code times or documentation where you're billing your customers off of their account, right?
Yeah, well, you have to have it that way.
Well, they don't do it that way. So you'll never get that answer. That's the reason why Measure P better be very careful with you guys, with what they're doing. They can't listen to me. They can't play with me. I know way too much. I'm way too knowledgeable. I've gone through this for 4 years with all these measures and everything else they're doing. They can't play with me. So I'm telling them, start helping me help the boss, which is the residents, understand what's happening, and let's go fix this together. The solution is in the people's hands. Make them part of the problem. If you want to complain about the streets, then give us a solution. Let's all work together, not just try to cover it up and let a street go for 10 years or 20. One street in Barstow on Grace hasn't been touched in 30 years. Why? Because that street doesn't matter. It's out of sight, out of mind. Let it go. We got to fix the streets at sea. That's just the problem. And all governments are the same way.
There's roads here in Apple Valley that are in the same condition, right?
That's right.
Years, and it's just like, hey, well, whatever. It's over there, out of sight, out of mind, right? But the people that live on that street, it's not out of sight, out of mind.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
It needs to be an all-encompassing government. If you're going to take care of certain streets here every 5 years, but you're going to let that one street sit for 30 years, that's a failure of government, period.
Absolutely. And not only that, it's a failure of updating your boss. I keep saying it. Donald Trump's the president of the United States. Great. But he works for me. I don't work for him. These senators in the state of California, they all work for me. They work for you. Yeah, that's what we miss. These guys run around and talk about, they fly around and they spend all this money and they do all the stuff they're doing. And I don't care who it is, a Democrat or Republican president, they work for you. They need to start understanding that. And that's why you get change. That's why you get, the country goes into different perspectives on what they want, because the country is changing. The people are changing, and no one's listening. Government doesn't listen to us. We got to make them listen. And I think this is an opportunity for me and you to let the residents of all high desert, not just the city of Barstow, but all of you guys, to know that you're in power. And you know what? One more thing, Steve. I get on your page and I get on there. Everybody keeps coming after me going, why are you on the Apple Valley page? Why are you posting here in Barstow? I'm just trying to get you folks to understand one simple thing. My problems here are your problems there. That's it. Figure it out, but understand it. Get educated. It doesn't take very long to figure this stuff out. Go to a couple of council meetings. Go watch your show. Go watch live Facebooks. Go watch anybody who's trying to get it out there, and you'll understand why we're doing it. So for those folks that say, why are you posting Apple Valley? Because I can, and I will, and I'm going to continue to do it.
No,
get over it.
And that's why we're having this discussion today. Yeah, it's the voice of Apple Valley, but the thing is, like you said, when it comes to local government, this could be for Hesperia too, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that brings me to a question. I've never thought about it until just right now we're having this discussion. Do the local cities actually meet with each other? Is there communication going on between Barstow and Apple?
Yeah, there's a mayor meeting that all the mayors come to. What I'm going to try to do is create my own committee with all of the city council members that I can, and go there and once a month or twice a month, whatever it's going to be, have a meeting. Just discuss these issues that we're talking about right now on how we give back to the people, making sure that we're representing the people correctly and understanding the issues and what the funding problems are. But the more we talk, the more we do for the people, the better off we all are. Nobody wants to do that. You know why? Because once we're in office, we're done kissing those babies, shaking those hands. You don't see us no more. We sit back, and then right before your fourth year, you get ready to run again. That last 6 months before you run, boy, we're all over the place, right? Our signs are all over the freeways and cities, and we're just telling them, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then boom, we're gone again. 4 years later, 6 months, here we come again. That's what we do. And so I said, go ahead.
You're hitting on something here. Why? What happens? That's the question. So you are the guy that was never involved in any type of politics. It's your first time as a city council member. Will you be the same person in 4 years? And if not, why? Why does that happen to people that are just a dad, a coach, or whatever, and they get involved in politics, and the next thing you know, they're this totally different person? What happens?
Great question. I'll tell you. It's greed. It's the power you have as a council person. It's the when you go out in town, they go, oh, council member, blah, 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 hey, blah, blah, blah. They love that shit. So what happens is it gets their head. And what they want to do now is stay in office. So they want to make the staff happy. They want to make the city happy. And they try to make the residents happy. But they normally choose, guess what? The city. They believe that the city keeps them in power. So it's power hungry. It's something that they don't want to give up. And that's sad. That's what real honesty is about, is that they can't let go of these powers that they have. I mean, let me tell you something. You get a lot of things happen inside the city. So if I pick up the phone, like I said earlier, and I say, hey, I need this grass cut, that grass is getting cut. If I did that as a citizen, you probably going to, you get it cut in about a month. So you get used to that power. You get used to that commitment of being able to make things happen right away and having people jump. Unless you're like me, where they all can't stand me, so now they're all making it difficult for me. So now I got to be a bigger butthead, and it's gonna be a fight. And
it's funny because what really got me active in this is doing the Save Youth football fight that I did with the state of California for 6 years. And I got a pretty good taste of how absolutely sickening your government can be and how much they can dismiss you as many times as they can dismiss you. And that happens from the federal, state, county, all the way down to the local government. But what is still beyond me, so say you're that one guy that goes to the Barstow City Council or the Apple Valley Council and you say, hey, I have this problem and I need you guys to resolve this problem for me. I think that one voice should get the attention just like 5,000 people complaining.
Yes.
And that's a problem, I think, in local government, is that they're like, wow, it's just one guy. It's just one guy. He's not going to come back. Just don't ignore him and don't take care of his problem, and he'll just go away at some point. And I think
that's exactly right.
That's part of the disconnect that we have in local government, is that they just dismiss you and they're like, well, come talk to the council, right? Come public comment. Okay, if I come and tell you my concern, I'm hoping you're going to resolve my concern. I mean, do you see things just being dismissed?
Oh, absolutely. But I'm going to answer your question even better than that. When you're going back to Save Youth Football, when you explain to the residents that when they went to ban football, they didn't say ban youth football. No. They put that under the Senior Citizens Act, where they hid it inside of a bill that some coward like McCarty did. And I said he's a coward. And what he did is he hid that with the seniors program, and then they pull it out towards the end of the bill and make it its own bill. See, that's nasty. That's disgusting. That is terrible. But they lied to us. They tricked us. You were very intelligent to find this. You went to every freaking assembly member flying on your own dime all over the place to save football. And half of the damn population didn't even know football was in trouble. So your government lied to you.
No, that's true. But why? You know what I mean? Why can't a politician just say, hey, guess what, guys?
He wouldn't win. McCarty wouldn't have won. He would have got completely. That's why I call him a coward. And I don't care if he hears me saying it or not. He is, because he hid it from the people. They did something that he thought was specially for him. He wanted to make a bill that's going to make him popular. He wanted to make a bill that's going to be a legacy to him, that he can sit back and say, hey, I did this. And at the end of the day, he lied to us, he cheated us, and he abused the senior citizens to do it.
Yeah.
But that's what government does. I mean, so when you say trust your government, how can you trust your government when you got proof this is happening and you found it? You've solved it. You fixed it. If it wasn't for you running around all the place screaming and yelling like I'm doing here, where would we be? We probably have no football.
I guess that's the part for me that I'm still I mean, I enjoyed doing that with the state, and I kind of enjoyed it. But it could be frustrating too, because you're sitting here thinking, why do I have to scream and yell to my local politicians to get things accomplished? Why can't I just come to you, send you an email and say, hey, my street's screwed up. If that street cannot be fixed, just send it back to me and tell me, hey, Steve, I just want you to understand, even with Measure Q, Measure P, with everything going on, your street is not going to be fixed for at least 5 years. Is that okay with you?
Did you watch Measure Q special meeting we had?
I watched a little bit of it.
Okay, do yourself a favor, big favor, watch the whole thing, because you're going to see more transparency, more honesty, and more updating the public than the city has ever seen in a city council meeting. We completely, if any citizen wanted to know what's going on in their city, go watch the special meeting on the city's website, and you will know everything that you got, including Measure P for you folks in Apple Valley. Go watch it. You're going to see everything that we're talking about now and more about how and what our government does, and you'll be shocked. But we exposed it.
So it's actually a good video for people in Apple Valley to watch too, right? Because it'll help them to understand this upcoming Measure P oversight committee.
Yeah, because we're talking about general fund officers, Measure Q officers, everything we talked about here is in that thing. It's in a briefing slide, and you're going to see the numbers. You're going to see the estimated numbers they made. You're going to see where they came in at. You're going to see the expenditures. You're going to see it all. Everything that I'm talking about right now in that slide was more transparency, honesty that you've ever seen in your entire life out of any city government. And I'm telling you, the city should be proud of them. The city of Barstow should be proud to put that on. And yes, it hurts, but at the end of the day, you walk away knowing everything. And Measure P, folks, I'm telling you, you want to learn it. Maybe you can put the link up there so they can get to it on the website for the city of Barstow. But you'll see transparency. You'll see everything you need to know, including funding, spending, everything.
Yeah,
that was just one tiny clip that you got.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that, because I think it's important for everybody that's because coming up here this year, we're going to have this Measure P oversight committee, and all those funds are going to start coming in. So I think it's very important. We're joined by Barstow City Council member John Tex Williams. We're about to wrap up here on the Voice of Apple Valley, but I want to bring up one picture, and I want Tex to expand on this. I'm going to put it up on the screen for you right now, Tex. You posted this picture about a week or two ago, and it's you with looks like some Barstow police officers. I don't know who the other lady is in the picture with you there.
Harbor Freight manager.
Okay. Oh, Harbor Freight manager. So is this something that you're looking to do as a city council member in Barstow, is be out in the community? Tell us the story about this picture, how this picture
Okay, so the week before that, we went to Stater Brothers because the owners, you heard me say we got together with the owners, talking to them about the crime in the plaza and everything else. What happened was someone came back on Facebook and said, hey, what about Food for Less? You don't care about us? The plaza. So we went there, and in that picture is the lieutenant, the police chief, the sergeant, and the officer for that beat. And what we did was go to each store asking questions about what is happening in your store, what is the theft rate, what is the crime stuff going on. And what we learned in that short walk around was amazing. So we did all the shopping centers. I'll be doing Linwood as well. But the council person needs to be out there representing their district and representing their people, and letting them know that we care. And this was a show of support to say, hey, listen, you matter. We understand your issues, and we're here to help you.
Wow, that's I got to tell you, I'm not just talking about Apple Valley. I'm talking about the high desert. I don't see any local politicians, leaders, whatever you want to call them. I don't see that happening anywhere.
Well,
Like,
you're probably looking at council people have been there for years. If you got 4 years, 8 years in office, maybe 12, you start to get complacent. You start to not care. You start to say, "Hey, they love me. I have no problems." I'm not looking for 12 years. I'm not looking for 8 years. I just want to get in there. I want to disrupt everything. I want to fix it, and then, you know, have some kind of accountability to the people. And 50% of the people in this town either like me or hate me. And it's not like I'm a fantastic person everybody loves. I'm the one who made it that shouldn't have made it. Does that make sense?
yeah, but you made it, so that's all
Yeah.
that matters. I mean, and
Yeah.
I think that's what needs to happen here in Apple Valley, and that's why part of this conversation, I wanted to have this conversation about Barstow and what you did in Barstow, because I mean, here in Apple Valley, the amount of apathy that's happening from the public with our local leadership is it's bad right now. I mean, we had one guy run for mayor, one guy run for one of the district. I mean, nobody's running for local office here, and that has to change if you want things to change. And I think you're already making change in Barstow.
Yeah.
As little time you've been there, and that's all that we need, right? I mean, look, we don't need things to be perfect. I mean, things are never going to be perfect in these towns. I totally get it. In these cities, I understand that. But
Right.
transparency, be honest about it. If you're not going to fix our roads, just tell us you're not going to fix our roads.
Right.
If the park's not going to be mowed, if there's going to be graffiti on the wall, just tell us that. But quit telling us that everything is wonderful when it's not.
Right. And make the residents part of the solution.
Yes.
Measure P. Listen, if we go out and tell you the truth and say we need more funding and we do the right thing with the funding, people won't mind helping. They love their communities. They are diehards. I mean, Apple Valley, if there's one thing we've learned from youth sports, is that those families represent their city. They don't, when they come to, when Apple Valley goes to any other city, they represent their city. I mean, they're fighting for the residents. They take this game as just a simple little game. It's not. It's like gladiators fighting in the Roman days, and I mean, they're fighting for their city. I mean, their pride, the kids' pride in it. When they lose, it hurts not just the kids, but the parents, the administration, the everything. And so that's the way they got to look at it. Is that you're taking back your city and you're fighting for what's best for your residents, and you guys got to be transparent, and then with that, ask for solutions. Maybe it's another measure down the road. Who knows? But do the right thing with what the people give you. Be responsible to the people, and then the people will support you and they'll help you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Tex. All good advice for everybody involved. I want to thank brand new Barstow City Council member John Tex Williams for joining us today on the Voice of Apple Valley, and we'll definitely have Tex back on in the future.
One more thing. If I move to Apple Valley and I live with you in that fancy house of yours, maybe I could run for council there in 4 years. That would be nice. Can you imagine me running around your house? And that would be great.
Well, luckily, our council has nothing to worry about right now. I'm not running for anything. I'm in an unincorporated Apple Valley anyway, so I can't run. But that's okay. I'm still an Apple Valley resident. My ID says I live in Apple Valley, and I care about our community, and that's why we're having these discussions, because I don't think it's a problem to raise concerns about your local community.
And those folks in the county should have a right to pick. If you live with a certain amount of the city's population, you're paying the taxes, you're paying all the stuff. You should have a right to be able to voice your opinion and run for office. In my opinion, if we're a certain distance of the city. I mean, the county gets pushed out like, we don't, you don't do anything. You don't pay anything. But they're wrong. You pay for the same taxes that the residents do. So
yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
It's
all right, Tex.
Listen, I just want you to know we appreciate what you're doing. It's a lot of work. This is not easy. The amount of research you have to do on your own. You're probably going to be in a couple of years smarter than every council or mayor person you have in your city, because you do your homework. And that's not something that's a negative thing to say to them, but they get complacent. They don't read their agendas. They don't look at the problems the same anymore. They handshakes, pat on the backs, and go hang out together. And that's probably why you will really get an education. I told you, if you open this Pandora's box, not only will you enjoy it, but the amount of time and the education you get are going to be amazing.
Well, and hopefully the things that we're talking about here and the things that I find out and pass along to everybody here in Apple Valley and across the high desert, I hope we all learn something from this, and it makes us better and makes us more engaged in local politics, because we have to have more people engaged in local politics, period.
Absolutely. And those who are out there in Hesperia and everything else, listen to your show, listen to live Facebooks, listen to the people who are talking, see what you can get out of there. If it doesn't, you don't get anything out of it, then you haven't really lost anything. But not to watch or pay attention could cost you more than what you know.
Yes, exactly. All right. Thanks again to
All right, buddy.
Barstow City Council member John Tex Williams. Appreciate it, Tex. We'll see you again soon. Thanks a lot.
Oh, all right.